So the reason I wanted to do this episode is because we're all taught in school, like the only thing we know about William Henry Harrison is like his slogan, Tippecanoe and Tyler too, right? And I was like, well, what happened to the Battle of Tippecanoe? So in my head, I'm like, this must have been this most epic battle, right? This must have been like the greatest, like at the level of like the Battle of Bunker Hill and the Battle of Fort McHenry where the Star Spangled Banner came from.
Battle of New Orleans?
Battle of New Orleans. Like, these are battles that made presidents. The Battle of the Bulge with Eisenhower, D-Day with Eisenhower.
Yeah.
This has to be like a great battle. Nope.
No?
This wouldn't even, this, and the grand history of military engagements, this is like a footnote. No, this isn't even a footnote. This is just something you would ignore. You would just ignore. And it's a battle that made a president. And so I start looking in here and I'm just like, I wonder how many people fought in it, right? Well, there's about 250 Army regulars. They were supplemented with another 750 militia. So 1,000 troops, which again is not that much. It's not even, was that a regiment? So a small amount, like barely what we'd consider a maneuvering force.
Who were we fighting?
We were fighting 600 to 700 Native Americans. Basically, you had Tippecanoe was this forward position fort, and there was 700 Native Americans, also with some militia volunteers that had mounted rifles, light dragoons, which are basically like horsemen who then dismount and fight. And they were managed by this guy, Captain Spire Spencer. Let's set the scene. All right. So it's November 7th, 1811. Like, they're in Indian territory, so it's like, they're in the middle of nowhere. And so there's about 1,000 of them, consisting of regulars, volunteers, militias, and the overall commander was, it was actually the governor of the territory at the time, but Governor William Henry Harrison. And so there was also Colonel John Parker Boyd, who served as second in command, and he was in charge of the regulars. So he was in charge of the troops who were, here to fight. And there was another gentleman, this guy actually becomes kind of interesting in the history of the U.S. Army, but Major Samuel Wells, he was a mounted rifleman. And then in charge of the dragoons were Major Joseph Hamill Davis. So these were the dragoons from Indiana. So in addition to that, there's also this Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Bartholomew. And then as the aforementioned Captain Spencer, who's hitting up the Yellow Jackets. So the really who's who of this, really advanced weaponry. But it's important to remember that they are in the middle of the Indian territory. They're like essentially stuck in a fort that's like would be the same as if we were on Mount Everest, right? Or in the middle of Sahara, or in the middle of Antarctica. Like, they're on their own. I always want to qualify when I said they're not out there looking for a fight. They were in Indian territory that was claimed by Indiana. So it's kind of this weird, like, you're going to have some confrontations. All right, so on the other side, the other belligerents on this, you'll see this term a lot, multi-tribal native confederacy. I'm like, it's a confederacy. It's inherently multiple tribes. It's
that's the definition of a confederacy.
Yeah, right, the very definition of confederacy, a loose association of people. So it was led by Tecumseh, but he wasn't actually there for that. He had his brother who, Tenskwatawa. I looked up that pronunciation. So
I'm not even going to question it. It sounded like you nailed it.
Yeah, I tried it like 6 times, and even like I feel weird because like I don't know if that pronunciation is actually correct. I just know that's what they said it was. But he was also known as the Prophet, which is baller. I mean, title, right?
If you're a general, that's a good nickname.
That's good. If you're leading troops, they're either gonna have a real good time or a real bad time. If you're named the Prophet, there's no in between. They did not have a good time.
No,
they did not have a good time at all. This was
not prophetic.
Didn't have a good time. It was bad. It was bad.